Hi, Catherine. Good to see you. Goodness, such a long time. Okay, how many people are there? 18 are there. Okay, I think we can get started because I want to honor. Welcome, everybody. It would be really nice if you could switch on your camera if you have enough bandwidth, internet bandwidth. Welcome to our podcast with Eric and Manisha. Thank you for joining today. So welcome, Eric and Manisha.
Thank you. Thank you, Chitra.
Yeah. So it's been day 6 in India.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
how is it going, and how is India treating you guys?
good. It's been awesome. And Chitra, you've been treating us really well. Spoiling us. We've been eating good. We've been seeing the sights and everything. So
Yeah.
it's been really awesome.
We've been traveling, and Chitra has been taking us around,
Yeah.
showing Sam, and it's been a nice time.
Yeah, good experience so far.
Awesome. So we do have a mixed audience from WOWLife World, which includes WOWLife India as well. So some of them may know about you. Of course, you guys are celebrities.
Yeah.
So just for the sake of our audience, would you guys mind introducing yourselves a bit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. So yeah, as you know, we're Eric and Money. And so I came to WoW 2000 I think 15 for the first time is when I actually visited WoW and I actually kind of fully got exposed to the word. And from that time that I went, I was actually living in California, going to a supernatural school called Bethel, BSM.
Mhm.
And when I had heard Prophet preach for the first time, it almost just destroyed all the doctrine, all the things that I thought I knew about God,
Yeah.
and kind of rewrote everything. And I got hooked onto the word, and from there, yeah, I just knew that I was supposed to be in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, at WoW, and of course we met there as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I actually came to WoW when I was 18. And
That's
then,
amazing.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually a Buddhist, and when I came to WoW, I was still a Buddhist, and then finding about all these teachings of Prophet really changed my life, because from the start of course, when I was 18, I was nowhere, actually, from the place where I did not even have a
Mm.
and my life was completely changed by WoW, the community of WoW, and everybody really helped me, and the word, and I can say where I am today is of course because of the word and because of WoW.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, in the old, people say that you have to leave your friends, family behind, and you have to start everything alone, and that's the way to success. But in the new, we go back into that with a redemptive mindset,
Yeah.
with a mindset of reconciliation from a place of influence and impact.
Yeah.
So, were there any initial, you guys have taken this path of sphere influence, and you guys are really doing very well, fantastic. So, were there any challenges when you took on this social media project?
Yeah, definitely.
As your sphere influence.
And like we were discussing too, I think the other day, it was really amazing because growing up, I of course loved doing the kind of stuff that maybe some of you have seen us doing online. So just kind of about, if you don't know what we do online, we make these funny videos, we do music.
Yeah, really funny.
Yeah, really funny stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it is like based on different localities, different demographics, using language, kind of bringing reconciliation of like ethnicities and races and things like that through our content, through the kind of through the platform of comedy, right? Because comedy is such a good way to kind of break down walls and really bring reconciliation.
Right. Right.
And so I used to always do stuff like this, acting, singing, stuff like that. But as I kind of got involved in certain ministries and streams, they kind of taught that you should kind of put those things aside.
Yeah.
And even a lot of people from the pulpit, I remember, would teach like, that they wanted to be, they wanted to be a dancer, but then they gave up that so that they could, serve God.
Yes.
Which, of course, if that's really somebody's bread and butter, sure. But I think a lot of people actually sacrifice gifting at the cost of like, you know, what they call service, and actually, you know, they're actually letting go of something that they're actually called to do that could actually have way more impact than just going and preaching, you know, in different pulpits. So I was under this mindset of like, that's what I had to do. Like I had to go and I had to preach. That was the best way that I could serve God. And actually, when I came to Sri Lanka, when I came to WOW for the first time, I also kind of was under that mindset. And even what I told Prophet as well, what I told Kirby was, you know, I'm here, I'm ready. I'm going to go to the churches. I'm going to preach. I'm going to go to the orphanages and everything, which is all beautiful stuff.
Right.
And actually what Kay told me just totally broke my mind. He's like, no. First become famous.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, I've never in my life thought a pastor or somebody in his position would ever say something like that.
Right.
And so I was shocked because, you know, I loved it. I used to, you know, write songs and I used to act, but every time I would do it, I would feel this kind of subtle condemnation that would rise up. And then, you know, this kind of the voice of the accuser would kind of come and say, shouldn't you be like praying right now or reading your Bible or doing something? And so I remember there would be times where I'd be writing a song and I literally put the guitar down so I could, you know, pray or something.
Repentance.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh no, I'm sorry. But I didn't, but only now I look back and I realize that that time of me writing that song was more valuable worship than me actually going and worshiping in the traditional sense. And so actually these gifts, these callings, these skills is actually in a lot of cases way more beautiful to God and way more of a fragrance than doing some like, you know, traditional, you know, homage where you feel like you owe God something, you know? But when Prophet said that will become famous, it broke all that. And of course it took some time. I was like, okay, what does that even mean? Why would somebody, you know, and of course I know now looking back that he was seeing something much bigger. He, you know, and he kind of said, do this. And then once you reach that point, and then you can really pour in. Because that's really, I think a lot of people in ministry are pouring from an empty cup because they haven't taken the time to actually fill themselves and actually pursue their calling.
Right.
So once of course there were some challenges at first of kind of breaking old conservative mindsets.
Right.
But after some time of getting into it, and especially now with this message of like sphere sovereignty, it's really helped step into it. I don't know.
And also it's about when Prophet said about being sent. It also makes sense a lot now because what we're doing is actually we've been sent to a purpose, and also one thing is about purpose-driven community as well.
Yes.
Whatever we do is actually for a greater purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
When you have that mindset, I think even if you have any challenges that comes across through your journey, you know your vision is actually for a bigger purpose, not just to fulfill my own dreams, but for majority of others.
Yeah.
It actually pulls you, and even if there's challenges that comes our way, it's nothing because we know what our vision and our purpose is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great to know. So that goes as far as your mindset is concerned. But what about any social challenges in facing your family, friends, and why you guys have started doing this? You're supposed to be serving God in a traditional way. You're supposed to be. So what are those some of
No,
those
for
challenges?
sure. I think especially when I started at first, a lot of the people, maybe, you know, what I might call from the old were confused, you know, and some of those people actually just completely, you know, kind of turned away from me and thought that what I'm doing is just totally of the world and of the flesh and
secular,
you know, totally secular. Because sinful, you know, this whole thing. And that was tough. There was times where that was tough because it was like, you know, because I think that fear of condemnation, and that fear of man and that fear of religion it's the most manipulative force ever, and it can really keep people from actually having impact and having an effect. So definitely socially there were some things at first, but I think that purpose and knowing that commission. I mean, if like you get a word, you know, of course, if you get a word like go preach with all your heart. But if you get a word that says go sing with all your heart. If you get a word that says go dance with all your heart. If it's go do business with all of your heart.
Awesome.
So it's like whatever word is actually coming to you individually, and knowing that everybody's going to have their own calling and their own unique expression. Because I think what a lot of the people in the old who maybe look at me, their understanding of what it means to express God is like this.
Mm.
Whenever actually there's this and this and this and this and this and this, there's so many
Yeah.
different ways to actually express God and to actually have an impact
Yeah.
in the world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing to know because in India, the traditional mindset is that if you really have to serve God, is leave everything aside, leave your job and everything, and then go and become a pastor or an evangelist, serve God in full time. So I'm so glad that you guys have actually been there, done it, and bringing this
Mm.
perspective from your own experience.
Yeah.
So it's really good. And so, how did you guys meet each other?
Yeah. Of course, we met at
Yeah,
WOW.
we met at WOW,
Yeah.
actually. I was in 2021, I was Asha. I was ushering at church at the white team, and I opened the door, and that was the first time that Eric saw me. And
It's like an
with
it was like
some music and
yeah, exactly. Like how
it's like her hair was blowing, she smiled, it was like a Colgate ad, everything.
Wow.
Actually, thinking about it now, we actually make content like that.
Yeah, now we actually make videos
Yeah.
Just like that.
reminiscing
Yeah.
He was
about that
slain in
moment.
the spirit and all.
Yeah, I got slain. It was a holy experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and then coincidentally, that same night, we were at the same dinner table, cafe. Or,
Yeah, restaurant.
restaurant.
Yeah.
And then since we were all friends, Eric and Austin was also there, and Julius and myself and Jude and Amy and my brother.
Some of the other wowers.
Yeah, all of the wowers were all there, and so we were all eating at the same table. And then that was one moment that we were able to talk to each other and
Yeah,
get to know
yeah,
each other. And then you can continue.
Yeah, no,
Maybe
and
no.
then and then
No,
I had
it's a
an
small process.
I had an interest because she was of course beautiful but smart and charming and very cunning too. I could tell that she had like a sense of humor to her. She was like in it. What is the passage? Innocent as a dove, cunning as a serpent.
Yeah.
Like that. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Nice.
And I remember one time we were over at Prophet and Proffies, and they just asked me. They just go, "So, is there anybody from WoW that you like?" Just ask me like that.
Prophetic, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, I think Fiona had heard because of the gossip and things like that.
Okay,
The
they
talk,
figured.
they figured it out. She's like, is somebody whose name starts with an M, you know?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then they told me, all about. They gave me the scoop on Manisha.
And then they actually added both of us in the same. That's when WoW Games was happening,
Yes,
and we were both in the same team.
Wow.
So
Very
that was
purposefully done.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
I think
purposefully
They
done.
put you
Yeah,
next to you, right?
they put us as like team leaders for the
Yeah.
WoW games on the same team.
Wow.
So we got to know each other very well.
Yeah.
Which year was that?
2020.
2019.
2019, yes.
2019.
Okay, so it's been
2021.
okay.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years then.
Yes,
Yeah, in
5
5
years,
years.
yeah.
5 years. Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys are into content creation, and I've seen you guys like from morning to evening, you're continuously busy creating content.
Yeah.
So how did you decide your niche, and what are the kind of content you want to create, and why?
Yeah. You want?
Yeah, how we found our niche was actually it all started off with one video that Eric made, which was a funny video, and that I don't know, it's definitely grace that it went viral.
Viral, okay.
Yeah.
Then again, what we did was how we found a niche was we kept on making content like that.
Yeah.
Along with it, we made other different content as well.
Okay.
And we were able to see which one and which audience would really like it.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah.
type of content would audience would like it, and that's when we figured, okay, it's more comedic
Mhm.
side of content is
Yeah.
where we were getting more attention on.
Mhm.
I was gonna say even Prophet helped us with that as well, because there were times where he would tell us like,
Mm.
follow the grace.
Yes.
Where the content is.
Right.
So sometimes I would post something and I keep because I liked making something, I keep posting and I realized it wasn't working, but then I realized, okay, whatever is working, there's a grace on it.
Right.
And I think part of it too is like, it's not always gonna be like your specialty. Like for me, I love making music way more than I love making funny videos.
Yeah, right.
But there's a grace on the funny videos. So I
Yeah.
lean into that, and it's
Yeah.
really allowed me now to really do my music.
And you
Because
are
I
a
follow the
natural
grace.
at it as well.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember.
You both actually.
Yeah. I can remember Eric was really into music and he wanted to go in that side, and then
Yeah.
Prophet was actually saying, hey, if that is not the side,
Mhm.
first if you see the grace on comedic side, do it, and that's when
Yeah.
you will
Mhm.
see more attention to the music.
Yeah.
And now that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, no, that's what's happening. For
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
So can you share a significant moment or a breakthrough in your journey, a
Yeah.
kind of a momentum and how it happened?
Yeah, a lot of things. I think what's really cool, I think I know what you were thinking of, but it's just really cool being here.
Mhm.
Because anyways, just to give context to why we're in Bangalore as well,
Right.
here with Chitra and Sam.
Yeah.
Is because, you know, as we're doing this stuff and as we're posting, of course, Kay always encouraged us, you know, just keep growing, keep breaking boxes, and that's what the
Yeah.
word is, right? It's
Right.
and really leaning into your sphere.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, especially once Holy Orders, that series came, and then once, you know, talking about the sphere sovereignty as well,
Mhm.
really kind of removed another layer of like maybe inner condemnation or guilt that I had about making content, right?
Right,
Because
right.
there's still sometimes that residue that's left.
Yeah, yeah.
And then realizing no, I'm called to be a priest in this sphere.
Right.
And so whether it's like a prophetic voice or apostolic or, you know, a pastoral thing, I know,
evangelist,
or
yeah.
evangelistic,
Yeah.
I know that, okay, I'm called for this sphere, and it kind of liberated me in a sense of like, no, I can fully lean into this.
Right.
And I think, honestly, a big milestone is actually being here, just because it was, you know, of course, in Sri Lanka, our content was getting really popular, but now in India, it's gotten really popular.
Right.
To the point it's amazing, still blows my mind, because like you were saying too, like
Right.
the population's so big in
Yeah.
India,
Right.
and the fact that we're in Bangalore and people are stopping us.
Yeah.
People are recognizing us in coffee
I've seen
shop,
that. Yeah.
and they're coming up and they're taking photos. So
Right.
just to see that, like,
Yeah.
even here we're known,
Yeah.
it's like, it's very humbling. It's like, wow, like
Yeah.
there's something that we're called to go into. So
Yeah, there's a lot of grace
a
on
lot
it,
of
right?
grace, so
Yeah,
much grace.
and when we actually started, Prophet said Sri Lanka, and then we actually recently, Prophet, a few months ago,
Yeah.
Prophet prayed for us and said, hey, he's gonna commission us to send. We said, okay, now Sri Lanka is there. What's next? We were actually wondering what's next now.
Yeah.
And then he actually prayed over us and said, he mentioned India, Australia, USA,
Yeah.
and all specific countries. And now that few months later,
It's really opened.
India has opened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So good. So
yeah.
So we would like to learn from some of your experiences that brought positive changes, either through your personal interactions or through your content. They are, of course, dependent. So
Yeah. I think I was thinking that one story, you tell about, you know, about the
Yeah,
lady.
so
Yeah.
one thing that actually keeps us doing what we're doing, as I said, about we have a purpose as well. With that purpose, it's actually the overarching purpose.
Right.
It's one thing is, this is a story that we met during COVID time. This one lady had her husband and her father had both passed away from COVID, and it was only herself and her son that was living together. And then she was like, every night she goes to bed watching our videos because that gives her so much joy.
Yeah.
And then again, so she was like telling us, keep doing more content like this because that just gives her so much of joy.
Right.
And the other one is somebody from Qatar or Dubai that came to Sri Lanka. He said he was suffering from depression. And what really helped him get out of depression was our videos.
Yeah.
So that was like, what?
And that's the best thing, is getting messages or comments like that of like I was having the worst day ever, or like I was thinking of ending my life, but then I was watching your videos, and things like that are like it's so humbling. And then it also shows, because I think sometimes, especially if you come from a Christian background, you know, if somebody says, okay, you're a Christian, now go make a movie. Then all of a sudden you go and make that movie, and that movie is just like very Jesus and very laced with all this like terminology.
Yeah.
And it goes over people's head because they don't get the reference points.
Right.
And I think, you know, when we, especially for me at first when I started this, I also thought, oh, that's the way it should look, or that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But then I realized, no, just the fact that I'm doing it, it's filled with him.
Yeah.
Just me picking up the phone, that's Christ picking up the phone. That's Christ posting. That's Christ making this content.
Yeah.
So when anybody sees a silly video, that scripting, I just so believe that it's so like God breathed, that scripting is going to talk to somebody, and that scripting is going to do something in somebody's heart.
That's very important, Eric, that you said that God is God's breathed on the content. And I saw a lot of comments, people saying that they really laughed hard, even when they
Yeah.
were at the gym or they were at the meeting,
Yes, yes, yes.
scrolling through the content. I mean, de-stressing or stress buster, people are really charging a lot of money, stand-up comedies and other things, right? So people do have a lot of mental health issues, and it's such a
Yeah.
blessing. And I see that initially I also thought, okay, it's how this could help or how this could minister to people.
Yeah.
The very fact that you guys are relieving the stress or de-stressing in a
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
that's the wonderful gift.
Yeah.
Right?
And to add on to that, I think creativity is like one of the most powerful outputs, especially if somebody's dealing with depression or with anxiety or
Right.
anything like that, is once you
Right.
start creating, you'll find that you overcome those things.
Yeah.
And I know for me, growing up, when I would look at different artists or different actors and I saw them doing whatever they did excellently, that actually pulled me out of my slump and
Yeah.
kind of charged me to think like, oh, I can do that too. I can make something, I can create something beautiful like that.
Right.
And so I believe that now we're able to give that to people.
Exactly, yeah.
So now they can watch us and feel like, whoa, I don't just have to, be down. I can actually just something as simple as picking up my phone. I can create something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, you've grown up watching all these films, and I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
You're so natural at it, and you are a pro. So, how do you? I mean, your content, you guys, whatever content you create, if they are so creative, so do you have any routine or like a you do some meds or what?
Yeah,
How does your
actually-
routine look like, and how do you get such creative content? It's
Yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I think, especially at first, when we were making content, and
Yeah.
this was like maybe around the time Tohu Wabohu was happening,
Right.
and as well as the meds like the
Luminous
Luminous tablets.
Yeah.
And actually, one I specifically used all the time was the wind element, because about
Okay.
thoughts and
Right.
knowledge and things like that. And
Yeah.
so sometimes, like for example, so what we do for work is a brand will reach out and they'll ask us to create a funny video to advertise their brand.
Wow. Yeah.
And so a lot of times to get the idea, I would actually go into the wind
Right.
card, and it would be so cool because it's not like I mean, you know how it is. It's not like you go in and then you have the idea.
Yeah.
It's like you go in and then within the next hour, all of a sudden it's just
Suddenly
there.
it hits
All of a
you,
sudden
and
it
down
hits you.
happens. Yeah.
And so even doing Tohu Bohu, I've had so many ideas where because sometimes we're so cluttered.
Right.
And I remember one time Kay was preaching about like, especially during the time of the void, he kind of challenged with this question. He said, when was the last time you had an original thought?
Wow.
When was the last time you had a thought that was totally yours?
Right.
And that really hit me. I was like, man, when was the last time I actually had my own thought?
Exactly.
And so then I started doing Tohu Bohu, incorporating it into our content.
Right.
And then we started seeing comments of people saying like, like, where did these come from? Like, I've never seen content like this before. And then I realized, like, oh, wow, like we're actually pulling on original thoughts,
Yeah.
So
And it is definitely
yeah, definitely from the spirit.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, you guys are integral part of WOW and leaders. And how do you, what's the scope of incorporating the WOW culture or values that we all believe into this influence or the content that you guys are creating? Is there anything you guys are planning to or already implement?
I was going to share, I think a big part of it is just the concept of justice.
Yes.
And I think in whatever realm we're put in or whatever realm you guys are put in, it's all about how do you bring justice to that sphere.
Which is very close to the heart of God.
Yeah, which is extremely close to the heart. So that's like the whole, and I think really why we do grow is because we allow those opportunities to happen for other people.
Awesome.
And as you know, because of course, somebody like Selena would know this, like the acting sphere or Hollywood or influence sphere, it can be a very nasty and biting kind of sphere where
absolutely. Yeah.
And we've seen so many times, even in ourselves, whenever like something goes up and it goes viral, how you can really just want to grab it for yourself and be like, oh, that's mine, or that song's mine, or that idea is mine, and then this thing of ownership and trying to claim it comes. But when you step back and realize, no, it's all the spirit, it's all God, then it really allows you to now distribute evenly the actual credits to who rightfully deserves to be acknowledged. And I think through our content we've been able to do that, and I think
and also being a solution and bringing reconciliation, just like how Eric said, because it's so much easier for it's actually more hard for somebody to become famous, or either somebody has to go to a reality show or has to
Right.
go to some kind of a TV show to become famous.
Right.
And what we want to do is actually bringing in a platform for other people,
like young talented people,
young talented people to actually
Mm.
grow, because it's always pretty hard to become famous or do what they like to do or get into music or acting. But what we want to do is create a platform, or what we're doing right now is also, just like I said about the overarching purpose,
Right.
is while we are growing, taking us.
That's how you guys are growing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your purpose is supported by the overarching purpose, right?
Yeah.
It's beyond you guys. It's
Yeah,
beyond
yes,
you,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I never knew that funny video content could bring in some sort of like justice and righteousness on earth. I mean, this
Yeah.
is really amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, it is. And even with the scripting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the content that we make as well is kind of representing girls of darker complexion.
Oh yeah.
That's a big thing.
Right.
Because in Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
there's kind of a discrimination towards
Right.
a girl with darker skin.
Right.
And so we're able to kind of bring reconciliation to that. And that's something you get all the time.
To a lot of girls in Sri Lanka, because
Yeah.
being dark skinned is not it's more of a discrimination or ignored.
Yeah.
In India as well.
Yeah. So it's like giving hope and also like encouraging them, hey, you can be recognized. And that I've seen so many girls responding and commenting and saying that they can now even like they
feel confident.
They
Follow
feel
your
confident.
footsteps.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Amazing.
really helping.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And keeps me going.
Very well done. How do you ensure that you stay true to the values in the midst of all the pressures around?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that has to do with of course, this new series again on conscience. Right?
Yeah.
And I think, with everything that we're doing, I think we just so know the purpose of what we're doing, and we know that it's so not to take, but it's just to give.
Give, yeah, absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know?
So the traditional mindset is all about taking,
Yeah.
but you guys are completely doing it opposite, right?
I think as long as we know that our content isn't harming anyone, and
Right.
as long as it's giving to people, then
Right.
we know that it's not, conforming to any
Awesome.
old mindset. I don't know what you.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, is there any advice you guys would like to give to our audience, who are from WOWLife World as well as WOWLife India, how to go after their passion and reveal their unique expression?
Yeah. I think
don't be scared to be yourself.
Exactly.
Because I think I was a real people who know me 10 years ago, I think,
Yeah.
knows how I am. But then years and years of, I think, so much of layers being put off.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can be myself now. And
Yeah.
that has helped me to do what I'm doing, and I'm able to understand more about myself as well.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. I think knowing that everybody a part of WOW really has such a unique and beautiful calling.
Right.
That you really are called, whatever sphere it is.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be content or social media. It can be literally
True.
anything. Like
True.
there's such almost a pride you can take in the sphere that you're in, knowing
Right.
that God has called you there, and that you
Right.
can go to the top, and that actually God wants you at the top of that sphere because you can bring justice, because you can bring harmony, you can bring reconciliation
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
those spheres. So I think owning that and knowing you're alive for that. It's like that is your worship. And I think that was the hardest thing for me, was kind of getting out of that whole secular sacred division that was created for so long. And I think
Right.
if anybody's still carrying that, you can just shatter that wall and know that you being you and you being uniquely who you are, who God created you be, and going into your sphere, that is worship. And that is so impactful. It's way more impactful than maybe you doing some traditional method.
Awesome.
So yeah.
So very good.
Yeah.
How do you guys manage your personal life versus being a social media influencer?
Yeah, I think
Or it's part and parcel of?
I feel like it doesn't feel like it's because even when we go out, it sometimes surprises us if somebody talks to us, I feel like, but it doesn't. I would always do wonder that, like if I look at a celebrity or something, I'm like, oh, I wonder how they manage that.
Yeah, personal life.
That personal life balance. I guess it doesn't feel
I
like
think
there's
it's
anything.
because most of the time we're working together.
Together,
Yeah,
that makes a
yeah.
lot of difference.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So
I think we keep each other very grounded. I think
that.
I think yes, I think because we have each other, it's very hard to get an ego because the other person could very quickly be like, I know you. So I think that's very helpful.
Oh, okay. So is there any strategies you guys have? Of course, your content is very creative, but in the whole process of creating that, you could sometimes get stressed. So is there any strategy you guys are having or
Yeah.
to prevent burnout, especially not to, get into the other side of,
Yeah.
it shouldn't become a law or a burnout.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think whenever we know we're burning ourselves out, or whenever we know, okay, when we know, okay, there's a limit, that's when we decide, okay, we're gonna go on a holiday, or we're not gonna, we're just gonna go out
We're not gonna
shopping.
pick up our phones.
We're not gonna pick up our phones. We're
That's
gonna watch a
awesome.
movie.
Yeah.
We decide
Right.
this is rest day.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But also we're not like afraid of the stress. Like even today we were shooting this one thing at that
Yeah.
we were getting so
The garden,
stressed while we were doing it.
Right.
Just because I mean there's a lot of people watching and it was
Yeah.
just kind of like
Right,
a bit
right.
hectic.
Yeah.
But I think also learning how to like learn how to manage
the stress.
manage the stress, like lean into the stress a bit.
Right.
Because honestly, some of our best content has come from the most stressful
yeah.
shoots, you know?
Yeah.
Not to say that there wasn't grace on it. There's absolute grace on it, but it's like the process you're navigating something, right?
I think it's so easy as a couple, if
Yeah.
you're creating something together, it's so easy to get mad at each other. I think one thing that we realized is, hey, we're creating something that is gonna impact a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we put a lot of consciousness into it, intention to it, and also we don't make sure we take familiarity off.
Yeah, exactly. It's important.
Are there any final thoughts or any messages you guys would like to share with our audience?
I think one thing I was thinking about before this meeting was like just like as far as our growth has gone, and every time I reflect back, I just always remember the power of like the word, the power of like having a word for yourself and knowing that there's something very specific for each and every individual person.
Right.
And that's something like I remember even when I first came to WOW, and whenever Prophet spoke that over me about the impact that I would have and becoming famous, I had that recorded on my phone and I saved it on my laptop. And I think I watched that video probably 3 to 4 times a week. I would just rewatch it.
Right.
It wasn't even that I would like remember it. I would actually watch it.
Yeah.
And I remember I became obsessed. Actually, I put it down in a journal. I wrote it. I put it on my wall.
Yeah.
And it became literally like my daily bread. Was this word that I was given.
Calling forth.
It was a calling forth. And so it wasn't, I think if you have a word, if you have even a dream or a promise or an unction, don't treat it lightly. Like take that and know like, man, no, I really can go wherever this word is sending.
Right.
Because that's what the word is like, right? It sends you forth. And if you have a word, just know like, just as sure as that word, just as like, when God said, let there be light.
Yes.
There was light.
Right.
So if God's saying, let there be, the number one in your business, let there be, somebody who becomes famous, let there be a viral song, let there be, whatever it might be, the best cookies in the world, whatever you're called to, if that word comes, that word's is gonna come into fruition.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing. And I think we could have some, if anybody would like to ask any questions from Eric and Manisha, go ahead, unmute and shoot out.
Selena has a question.
Yes.
First of all, that was incredible. That was beautiful, and concise. But the first question that came to mind was that process of how can you encourage people in their own process of finding where the resonance is? So you ended up doing various videos, but found that the comedic videos, the truth in the humor were the things that resonated. And as an artist, that process can be, it was just a little sentence here, but it can be very painful. Did you experience that? Or is it because you were going on the word and the sending of the word, that it was a little less angst in, or
No, it's a great question. That's an awesome question. I think so. Like, I'll take like the music thing, for example. And I remember whenever a prophet said, I remember one time he specifically said, stop making music videos. It was just like that. And because that's it's like my whole world crumbled. But I just sat there like, yeah, fine. Like, fine, like that. But like, it took a long time to actually die to that.
Yeah.
And I really realized that even recently, Kay was saying this again, whenever you really become dead to something,
Right.
that's
That
when
becomes alive.
that's when you can actually now go to the top of that thing,
Right.
and actually now have an impact.
Yeah.
And so I think even still, I don't feel like I'm totally dead to it, because I mean, if I'm totally honest, I still love it so much. But I want to die to it, and I want to die to these things that I'm so like maybe wrongfully in love with, and realize how I can now put it on the altar and really allow the fire of God to come upon it, so that it really has an impact.
Right.
And actually, I've seen time and time again with music or different passions that I have, where I go forth and then it just crumbles, and I go forth and it crumbles, and it goes forth, and I keep trying, and I really realize, like, okay, wait, maybe God is instrumentally setting me up and also teaching and kind of pruning me to really be at the right time where I can really have an impact. But yeah, totally. I mean, 100%. It's not like, I mean, here I am now, but I mean, of course,
It's taken a lot
taken
of
a long time.
time and effort and money and pain, so much.
Yeah.
But looking back at all of it, oh my gosh, the process is worth it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just like you said, knowing that I never doubted the end result. Like, I think that was a big thing. I never doubted, like, whenever this word was spoken, or whenever this feeling was in my heart of what I could be and where I was called to, I never doubted that. The process was sometimes like, what the heck? Why is it taking so long? Why is it going like this?
Yeah.
But I never doubted where we were headed. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I see that some of the Indians are already commenting and calling forth some of the popular musicians from the Bollywood and the Bollywood industry.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, no, that means
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyone else want to ask any questions for our advice from Eric and Manisha, guys? Go ahead and unmute. Okay.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I have a lot of questions. In the two questions actually, in your process of creating your content, creating your scripts, how do you, is it just a constant evolving thing? You know how maybe you work for a company in the arts, but we have this system that we have to fit into. Is it just something that happens? You're very intentional with your time, but your content evolves between the two of you. You write together, or is it is it always different?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I think most commonly, I think it is always different, but I think most commonly it'll be like us springboarding off of each other. And because for me, I think everybody's different, but I'm like, when I externally process an idea, that's when I really know whether it's good or not. And I kind of, I can read Manisha's face, I can read like her reaction to it to know whether it's good or not, she's kind of like the test, to see whether what we're coming up with is gonna actually go places, But there'll be times where whenever we come up with an idea, we'll talk about it. We'll spend a long time, actually. I know these videos might be 30 seconds or 60 seconds, but we're really thinking about every aspect, down to like the way it's edited, to the music that's used, to the how long are the words on the screen for at the beginning? Is it 3 seconds or 4 seconds? Everything's kind of like, it's like a science experiment, So everything's very, very intentional, down to the T, down to the exact word choice and everything like that. And I think from doing it, I mean, honestly, we spend a lot of time on TikTok. And we spend a lot of time on Instagram. And the reason why is because I want to know the psychology of the viewers. I want to know, it's my sphere, right? So it's like, not that I'd ever encourage somebody like, go watch a bunch of TikTok, but like, I want to know the way that people think online. I want to know the language that they're using. I want to know the trends, the music, and everything. So I think through spending time on that and watching the way people react to different videos has kind of given me almost like a very now natural instinct of knowing when we make something, whether that's going to hit the right chord or not.
Yeah.
And on it, I mean, we've made thousands of videos now, like thousands of videos. So I think through that process, I mean, now I watch our first video and I'm like, what are we doing? What was that? It's just trial and error. And I think one thing that for anybody who's making content or making stuff is like, don't wait for perfection. Perfection comes in the process.
Right.
Like it's continually perfecting. If you're waiting perfection, you'll never reach it, right?
Right.
And so if I look back at the content then, I'm so glad that I at least started. Because I know so many creative people who are just waiting for the right camera or the right
perfect
microphone,
Resources.
the right resources, the right investor.
Right.
And I mean, I remember we started making
iPhone 6, the small one.
iPhone 6. We made one video where we like lit a coconut on fire to get a smoke machine
Wow.
effect.
That was one of our first music
One of our
videos.
first music videos. And yeah, we filmed it on an iPhone. Yeah, spent all night on like an old Mac color grading it. So I think just working with what you have is important. So yeah.
That's the next question, was the technical aspect, because I know in shooting a film, we're
Yeah.
lucky if we get 3 pages per day.
Yeah.
In TV, we'll shoot an entire episode, or at least half an episode in like a day.
Yeah.
So your specificity is apparent, and it has grown for sure. But for the more specific you are, the more it shows. It gives you freedom. It is what you're describing is being more excellent than perfectionistic, but also very specific. It's given you it gives you freedom. I think that's what I'm seeing over the time with you. But then also you're reminding me of my kids when they started making films. It was like the iPhone, very small.
Yeah.
But the editing, what kind of programs, I mean, for any technical people out there, what do you use now? What are you editing on? What are you filming with?
Yeah.
Where do you get your music? Do you create the music?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And again, for those interested, so we use I mean, I actually really like using TikTok to edit a lot of stuff. It's quite limited, but I've found that you kind of have everything you need for short form content. But then if I need to do some like more heavy lifting stuff, I'll use Adobe Premiere. And then we have like an editor who's also working for us. And so he'll help us with like After Effects or Lightroom or different stuff like that. And then for music,
Sound views.
there's this thing called, if you need like copyright free, we use this thing called Splice. But otherwise, a lot of times you can use content now, like on TikTok or on Instagram and YouTube Shorts. You can use other people's music. It's very accessible. So yeah, a lot of times I'm very, like, honestly, the way I do it, I think if somebody professional watch, they think it's very unprofessional.
Yeah.
Like even sometimes like to get a sound, because it's short form content, people aren't really listening to the fine details. So I'll literally go to YouTube and I'll screen record on my phone the sound that I want, just because it's all within it. Then I'll take that sound and put it as an overlay onto the exact spot. So I do very Jimmy rigged ways that are just efficient and fast so that I can quickly do it and then upload it.
Yeah, just like how we said before, I don't think we need to wait for the right instrument or right laptop or phone. I think TikTok and Instagram is so accessible, and there's so many people watching as well.
Yeah.
And now there's so many trends and all of that. It's so much easier. I don't think it's hard as before.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So many people think that we have to buy the expensive software and we need to
Yeah.
have a laptop with a lot of memory and hard disk and stuff like that. But I've seen you guys since last few days. You're just doing everything on the phone. I was amazed.
Yeah, actually, we went to a cafe and everyone's using laptops and working so hard, and here we are with the phones getting things
I mean,
done.
don't get me wrong, I love all that stuff. That's what would be super.
that would
If you
be
have that
so-
stuff, use it.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So all the better, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Selena.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
Yeah. Go ahead,
I
Jyoti.
have a question.
Yeah. Hey.
So, hi. It was real incredible, info and insights that you were just shooting at us until now, and it's just mind-blogging. So my question here is creativity and content these days has no boundaries.
Yeah.
Have you ever been felt overwhelmed with your creative thoughts and contents? If so, how did you channelize it?
Yeah, actually, it's a really cool question. I've thought about this, because there is so much that you can do. It's sometimes hard to select
How do you narrow it
that.
down?
How do you, yeah, exactly. How do you navigate through this massive expanse of things?
Yeah.
And actually, what I found is, it's just a practice I've done. If I want to create something, I'll actually create a very small box for myself. So, like, let's say I want to write a song. I'll say, okay, song sounds so big, it sounds so massive. But then I say, we did this advertisement for this brand called Kiehl's in Sri Lanka. And the box was, okay, I'm gonna make a song, but I can only use the sounds of like carrots and coconuts to make the song. Now it's a very tiny thing, but now the fullness of the Godhead can come into that box.
Wow.
And so I think if you can create a small box for yourself, like, okay, I'm gonna make a very specific, I'm gonna make a video, but I can only, start every sentence with the letter S. I don't know, the small things like that. If you create a very tight framework, you'll find that, oh my goodness, you can break that own box you create for yourself, and you'll find that you're very creative.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
in terms of us making content as well, like funny content, we make sure, okay, we do this thing called Indian drama versus reality. I don't know if
Yeah.
That's a big hit.
it. Yeah, that's one of the big hits.
Yeah. So that's a framework.
Yeah, that's our framework. We say, okay, if it's an Indian drama, then we think of, okay, what kind of stuff do we see in Indian dramas that we can connect with reality?
Yeah.
So if we create a framework like that, then we get so much of ideas
Yeah.
on that framework.
Yeah, within that framework. Yeah.
Within the framework.
So I think too, if it's like if you're wanting to create something, you don't know where to start, just take whatever you're passionate about and just take that thing and then infuse as much life into that as you can.
Yeah, and later on you can always branch out.
And you can branch out. Exactly.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead, Jack. Thanks, Jyoti.
Thank you. And hi, Eric and Manisha.
Hey.
I'm very glad to see you both. So, first of all, thank you for coming to India.
Yes,
and
of course.
the first question that I have is, we see your videos in YouTube and they're very creative. I mean, every speck of it is having so much of intention. And I just wanted to ask how, while you are discussing these creative ideas with Manisha, how do you maintain the harmony between, because I definitely can understand, like, it's a basic thing that you are from a different place and Manisha is from a different place, right?
Yeah.
So there will definitely be some disparity between understanding and creativity levels.
Yeah.
So how do you,
Cultural differences.
And cultural differences.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
sorry
ahead.
sorry for this, miss. So how were you able to maintain that harmony between both of you, and how you were able to convince?
Yeah.
He's muted. You're muted, Jack.
Or make her to understand that this is the level that I want you to understand, or the creativity level.
No,
I could kind of figure out where this is
I got
leading
the
to.
question. I got the question.
Yeah.
No, that's an awesome question. I think because honestly at first, and I think maybe some people can relate with this, is like I tend to think that I know exactly the way things need to be, but once I met Manisha, I realized I was wrong. And I realized that whenever these two kind of different ideas come together, you're actually going to come up with the best idea ever, right? And I think the reason why our content is the way it is because there is so much disparity.
Because
actually.
of the unique
Yeah,
communication.
and
because of
the explosion.
because of the tension.
Yeah,
Actually, our content comes out with this unique flavor. Because if I only did content my way,
right.
it would be.
It could get boring at
It
times
could get boring.
sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, at the very start, it was actually, there were points where Eric would express his whole idea to me, and then I would be like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that is also one thing I've seen in myself is, the way I communicate across to Eric about what I feel. The communication is very important because because Eric is pouring his whole heart, and I
Yeah.
can straight away say no, but that's not right, because
Yeah.
then I've found ways, okay, I need to see what is actually good and what is really, that is quite broad, that might not really match the audience. So
Yeah.
then I'm able to differentiate it, and now I'm able to express it. I think communication is one of the keys.
Yeah, very
that I've
important.
figured
I
out.
think for the way, at least the way we work, is like I'll bring like a big thing of clay, and
Yeah.
then Money just kind of molds it into something that's really good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a beautiful way of expressing,
Yeah,
conveying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's
yeah.
totally.
Okay.
Of course,
Yeah,
it's not,
Thank you.
I
of
can
course, it's
figure it
not,
out.
it's not as artistic as that, of course, in the process. In the process, I might look like, don't do that. Yeah.
Awesome. So before we conclude, Eric and Manisha, Merlin has a question. Okay, so go ahead, Merlin.
Yeah. Hello, thank you. One quick question. When you started creating your content, um, so did you find it hard to keep the engagement? So it was it like you have something in your mind, but the trend was something different? And do you have to follow the trend, or just do whatever you feel like doing? But how do you keep the engagement?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, good question. I think especially if you're getting started, there's a lot of like within like the WOW youth as well is something that we've shared too, because we have so many creative people within WOW youth. We actually encourage them to, like, because they have so many unique ideas because they're really tapped in, right? They're tapped into the word. But always the world's not necessarily ready for those ideas. And you kind of have to start moving with the current before you start introducing how to swim the other way.
Right.
You can't just automatically swim the other way with
Yeah.
like ideas that
There's
are
a process for
revolutionary.
it.
There's a process.
Yeah.
And so especially for those just getting started, it's so important that you latch onto trends and you make those trends your own. Like I'm talking very practically, right? I'm not saying that you can't just out of nowhere just come up with something that's gonna,
Right.
because I've seen it time and time again
Yeah.
where people do it.
Yeah.
But practically, if you find something that is already working, it's actually wise to just latch onto it and then make that style your own. And then from there, you'll come to a place where you can really do your own thing.
Right.
And you can really express it completely yourself.
Yeah.
But it's important to kind of look at where there's a reason the masses are going where the masses are going. And in a sense, it's kind of like honoring where the masses are going and then realizing that, okay, there's actually something to it that you can take from. And then, of course, you can then introduce your own kind of aspect, your own flavor to it.
Yeah, I can remember when we first started as well. Even now, sometimes what we do is we add in these trending songs as well. And that really helps to the video to be accelerated as well and gives that push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I don't necessarily like the song,
Yeah.
but I know it's working. So why not see, okay, it's like, it's kind of this thing. There's a reason that it's raining on the just and the unjust. I'm not
Right.
only going to use Christian music or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like, oh, whoa, this song by Kid Leroy or Justin Bieber is doing great. Okay, I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to actually now infuse it with, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
what we have.
Yeah. That's being non-polarized.
Yeah,
Yes,
non-polarized.
non-polarized,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's important.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Marlene.
much.
Thanks, Marlene. Before we conclude, we just have 3 minutes. Before we conclude, I want you guys to speak about the spiritual covering and how it helped you guys to navigate and to be in
Yeah.
limelight. So that's very important
Yeah,
for our folks to understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just having that covering is kind of an incubator, right? Where you can really grow. And because it's kind of like, I remember when Prophet talked about the orbit, right? The orbit that you get caught in, you
Right.
know, the moon is orbiting, but then also you have, you know,
Bigger forces.
bigger forces that are orbiting that, and then bigger forces that are orbiting that.
Yeah.
And because we've been able to connect ourselves to a covering that has a much, like, honestly, if I
Massive.
talk to Kay and talk to Feed, their vision is
So
massive.
massive. Yeah.
And I like the way somebody said it. They said like they dream so big that our dreams fit into their dreams, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And to have a covering like that, it just only allows you to grow and
Yeah.
enables you to grow.
Right.
And even coming here, it's so cool. Like we were discussing coming to Chitra and Sam with them covering WOWLife India. And to think that now, even with us coming over here and doing our content here now, that it's still under this covering. And it's not like it was some intentional, like, religious thing of like, oh, we must come and like, you know, worship Chitra in order for it was nothing like that, you know, but it's just cool that there's a grace when you follow the covering, you're gonna realize that things are way easier. And because so much ground has already been tread, there's so much ground that's already been like kind of worked its way through that you don't have to do it yourself again. Why do it yourself?
Yeah.
You know, when
Why
it's
do you
already
want to
been
waste your energy?
yeah,
and
why
then
waste your energy?
toiling again?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's only like the ego that would be like the self-righteousness, like I'm gonna do it myself my own way. But
Yeah.
actually when you come into the covering, there's an ease,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I
So-
like the way you guys have tapped into the super irrigation in India.
Yeah, yes, the super
Yes,
irrigation,
yes.
exactly.
So yeah, so it was wonderful talking to you
Yes,
guys. Thanks
thank
for
you,
your
Chitra.
time. Thanks guys for joining. See you
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you, Chitra. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Chitra.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you, all of
Chitra.
you.
Thank you,
Great.
Radhika. Thank you, Manisha.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chitra.
Chitra. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.